No Wookiees were harmed in the making of this video. Allegedly. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Today we're going to talk about the best Relic 8s that you can choose. Obviously there's going to be a lot that are required, but the ones that you can choose are multitudinous, obviously, and I'm going to show you guys which ones you want to choose, because raid currency keeps giving us more and more Relic 8 materials. So let's get to it, folks. As soon as I say thanks to my patrons, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for all of your support. I truly couldn't do this without you guys at all. You guys are amazing. Thank you. And folks, if you want to support this channel for free, all you've got to do is hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and comment. Mount the algorithm. The algorithm's Relic 8. You can benefit, folks. Let's go to it, folks. Let's go to the game. So, whoa, we're somewhere. Where are we? This is madness. Alright, folks, so I'm going to show you on my main account. Sometimes I try to do it on my smaller accounts, but what I figure is I'll show you what characters are Relic 8 on this account and why I have them there, because, well, not all of them, but just because I want to make sure you guys know, like, I've actually done this. I've played with these characters at Relic 8 and even higher in some cases, and I've also played with them at significantly lower levels, and so I have a good breadth of knowledge of all of these different characters, and so that'll be great, I'm sure. And you should also understand, folks, I don't want you to just drop everything and put Relic 8 on these characters. What I want you to do is consider what's going to be the best thing for your roster. What is going to be the most obvious and helpful thing for your roster, and I mean, maybe it's not obvious. So let's get to it, folks. So first off, we have the Galactic Legends, and mostly I just put these here so that when I was making the lists, I could have the unique only, and they wouldn't keep popping up at the very top and I had to scroll past them. It's fairly obvious that you need Relic 8 or higher if you can on Galactic Legends. I mean, I've been on my middler account, I should say. I've been getting fine with Jedi Master Kenobi at Relic 7, to be honest. Otherwise, everyone has a legitimately strong reason for Relic 8 or even 9 because they're Galactic Legends and they're overpowered. But we're not going to get into that, folks. Instead, let's go. And these characters are not necessarily in order. I'm going to give you 20 characters that Relic 8 really benefits. So first off, we have Mace Windu. So he's one of the most versatile characters in the game, to be honest, guys. One of the best abilities that he has is his Shatterpoint ability, which every time he hits someone who has Shatterpoint, it reduces their defense, max health, and offense by 10%, which is crazy. You get to just melt a lot of different really tough characters, and because of the way CG has been structuring the different characters that are being built and made, he becomes more and more relevant as more crazy strong tanks come to the forefront. I mean, Malgus is definitely one of those characters. And the other thing about Relic 8 for Mace Windu is he is extremely stat hungry. He wants a lot of health so that he can survive. He wants a lot of potency so that he can apply his multitudinous. Did I just use that a second time today on this video? I need to stop with that. My use of the word multitudinous has become multitudinous. Now, Macetudinous wants to get as many stats as he can, guys. He wants potency because of all of his debuffs. He can stun, he can do ability block, and that's probably the only two that he has. But they're actually both really strong. And then he also wants some offense. He wants some health. All the stuff, guys. He wants everything. Yeah, the more stats you can give him via relics, and I know I have him at Relic 9, but I mean that's just because he's a tank and he gets some crazy high numbers when you go from 8 to 9. He's also we haven't I don't know, endurance. They boosted endurance, and now endurance just isn't being used at all still. So, but if it ever, maybe it'll get a second rework or a third. Jeez. And then it'll be good to have him at high relics, I'm sure, guys. Jeez. Yeah, he is worth more relics, though, guys. Commander Luke, I'm almost about to take him off this list, guys. He used to be, I mean, Here's the thing, when you take Chewbacca with him, Chewbacca grabs a ton of his stats and hands them off to the rest of the team. That is still really strong. The problem being is the CLS team is kind of in danger of being disintegrated with the release of Leia Organa as a Galactic Legend. A lot of those characters are like, maybe I'll just go with her, even though they kind of put incentives for us to not put, like Chewie and Han with her. I mean, that's what a lot of big guilds are doing right now. Whether or not that becomes the final awesome version of Leia is another matter. But Luke really likes to have a lot of stats when he's with his team, like his CLS team, when he's with Chewbacca. You need Chewbacca for this to even matter at all. I know I have him at Relic 9, but that was for territory battle purposes for platoons. And otherwise, he really wants... He really wants as many stats as he can because it hands out all those stats to his pals, to his buddies. 20% of his stats, so like his offense at higher level. I mean, 20% of whatever this number is, I'm illiterate, so I don't know what number it is, but 20% of this is probably a lot, is my guess. So he wants as many stats as he can, and the relics are what give it to him, folks. Maul is a character who, man, I think he's just going to make this list forever because, and honestly, the Relic 9 list as well, if we ever make one of those. People used to boo me off the stage when I was like, guys, here's some Relic 9s, and everyone's like, we can't do that. And I think a lot of people in this video are going to say, we can't do Relic 8s. I think a lot of people can, though. In fact, I know my alt, who doesn't spend any money hardly on the game, is putting Relic 8s on a lot of characters because I don't need Bronzium for them. Frankly, it's like, hey, they're already at 7, and then I don't need to put Bronzium on a character to get them to Relic 8. That sounds like magic, and I have enough materials. Anyways, we have Maul here, and he double dips a lot. He's wonderful in terms of. I say this every time, and a lot of you will already know this, but okay, so he has this Anguish thing, which is a mechanic where he does damage based off of, he does extra damage equal to his max health, and so what's going on is he also does damage based off of his offense, and so every time you increase his relic levels, you're getting a boost from not only his offense, or his so you get his damage, but then also every time his health increases, his damage increases, and so every single time you put a relic level on him, that's why when I see him at like Relic 5 or something, it just feels like a waste. I mean, Relic 8 is a wonderful place to put him because the boost going from 7 to 8 is just so substantial, and so he's also very stat hungry, but Robot Legs Maul is gonna get the job done. The more relic levels you have, just the more dominant he becomes, folks. Now, Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, the only reason you want him at 8 instead of 7, folks, because right now 7 works because of his Baraka unlock mission, and then also on Zepho, I don't think you need him higher in terms of requirements. The reason you want him at 8 is simply because he really wants to be more survivable, and you're going to be able to accomplish more missions easier with Relic 8. I would also say it probably in the Rise of the Empire Baraka mission to unlock Zepho. The other thing is, right now you could apply an Omicron. In my opinion, to make that easier, in my opinion, an Omicron is way, way, way more valuable to be able to apply to someone else than just one extra relic level. I think one extra relic level is going to get you the extra armor and health boost and damage boost that you probably need to not have to apply these Omicrons, but I mean, that's just me, folks. So, Taron Malicos, he's a relatively new character, and here's the thing is, he assists so much if he's on an UFU team, which he typically should be, and he does a crazy amount of damage, and every single boost to his to his damage is going to help him. I mean, obviously he's going to do a lot of damage, but if he's assisting as much as he, does, then it's going to be a really nice effect. Going from 7 to 8 on him is about 1,000. I mean, if you've modded him with offense, of course, is about 1,000 extra offense, and I mean, it adds up, guys. Every time you're hitting with him out of turn and everything. I mean, and then he boosts his own damage. It's pretty amazing, guys. It's inspiring. So, yeah, Malicos is number 5. Now, we got to get through the rest of these pretty quickly. Darth Vader. So, first off, as a pilot at Relic 8, he outspeeds all of the things that you need to outspeed for whatever counters you need. He's not going to be like the fastest ship, but for instance, he's going to be faster than any negotiator out there if you're at Relic 8 with all the mods at 6E, etc. But Relic 8 outspeeds even a Relic 9 General Kenobi negotiator, and so there is that. And then obviously Merciless Massacre lets him hit every single character at least once, a couple of them twice, and the more damage you can do with that, the better. I mean, he still is pretty relevant, guys. He does a lot of stuff. Yes, he's a little bit listless right now, tiny bit on certain comps, but I mean, you always find a use for him, guys. They've done a good job of mostly keeping this old man relevant. Now, as far as his grandson goes, the reason you want this, guys, is because of just, oh man, he's just hits so crazy hard, guys. And I mean, every time you boost his offense, so he does special damage, and special damage means he has a higher base damage. So look, physical offense, yeah, it's at 10,000. At special damage, look at this, 17,000. And so every relic level you get for him and is then taken, and the mods that he has, that give him the extra percentage on offense, and he does a lot of damage. The really cool stuff about him, though, folks, so this is in GAC specifically for this element, is this family legacy thing, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's, which one is it? Hold on, guys. I think I'm going crazy. Yeah, okay, it's redeemed, and in Grand Arena, he ignores protection, and so he does a crazy amount of damage, guys. And I mean, like, the reason I was thinking of it was Family Legacy is the one that hits really crazy hard, and I mean, it does a lot of damage, and it can't be evaded, so he won't miss, and he can ignore taunt, and on top of all of that stuff, guys, he is also just ignoring protection. And so he'll like the other day, I took him in and just one shot a Relic 9 cat. How insane is that? Like, she was on a Kenobi team, and he just went in and killed her from start to finish. Just like, she made that sound and everything. And see, I did a little bow to demonstrate my accuracy here, but it was really cool, guys. It doesn't always happen that way, of course, but the extra offense that you get from his relic levels are just insane, and he is insane, and it's fun. So, Jedi Knight Luke. Man, I don't think that I've noticed as big of a performance boost on a character, honestly, as the boost from 7 to 8 on him, just because he does a lot of cool utility stuff. Like, he stuns everyone, he can buff people, he can blind them, he can dispel on basic, he does extra damage on basic to tanks, all this different stuff. But the thing that I really like, he just needs extra damage, guys. He's a damage dealer at heart. His soul wants him to bludgeon the hell out of people, and that's what he does. He is really good at that, and as part of that is because he has a droid helping him. He should have the droid tag because of his droid hand, is what I think. I mean, that you just have to think that that's probably the secret to his power, guys. And giving him an extra relic level is really going to boost that hand for fighting and other activities that he may choose to participate in with that hand. Now, Hondo Ohnaka, one of my favorites, and a video I've been working on for a little bit. I don't know when it's going to be released. I'm hoping tomorrow, actually. I'm hoping it'll be the one right after this, but I'm not totally sure. Hondo is so crazy fun, guys. I don't know about Territory Wars or other games game modes. But here's the thing, guys. First off, he works really nicely, and I can't tell you all the things that he's awesome about. Honestly, guys, he can work with a Maul team, he can work with a Dash team, a few other teams, but the thing that I like most about him is his ramping offense, folks. And so as he continues along, I don't even know where it's at. It's my favorite thing, but I don't know where it is. So as he gets more and more stacks, he's going to be boosting his damage. Yeah, here we go. So every time he, so he gets all this cool stuff. It stacks, though. It stacks, and there's a maximum amount that he can get. In Grand Arena, he gets even more if you put his Omicron on, and he gets turn meter, which we'll talk about in the video itself. But the thing is, he does an immense amount of damage. In fact, it's fairly amazing how much damage he can do if you ramp him correctly and if you use him the right way. And so, Hondo at Relic 8 just does a ton of damage. And if you want to put him on defense and annoy your opponent, which I don't usually recommend, to be honest, because a lot of the best players at least will know how to counter it. But if you do put him on defense, the higher his Relic levels, the more difficult he will be to kill as well. So finally, Wampa, he ramps his damage, but that damage is based off of a % boost, and when he starts at a higher Relic level, then he's going to do more damage. And he's going to be more survivable for those surprise squads that are like, hey, I accidentally stunned you at the start, and then he's like, well, I don't care because I'm Relic 8 and I have a ton of health. You're good to go. So Crew, his ship does extra damage, obviously, and then just as a character who is a plug-and-play pre-taunt tank who also heals himself passively when he's even without his lead, he is just a very, very strong tank. And honestly, he's one of those characters that I would really love to get to Relic 9. I just don't have the luxury of it. Starkiller should be fairly obvious. I mean, he does a lot of damage, and I mean, he's the damage dealer. And so, honestly, I've made a lot of videos about Starkiller because he's one of my very favorite squad. Like, this squad is my favorite because he's so versatile. It's like, hey, we need this Jedi for a different team. Hey, we can just add a different Jedi, and the flavor of the whole team changes. However, this isn't an argument for using Starkiller. I think you should be using that regardless. The thing that I want to say is, he does every time you boost his Relic levels over 5, it's approximately 1,000 extra offense every single time, and it really makes a difference. For a while, I was rocking Relic 5 Starkiller on my alt, and at one point, my alt just stopped doing enough damage to kill Rey, to do anything, and I was so pissed. I went and got him to Relic 7, and he's still 7 on that account, but after that, I mean, I was like, wow, 2,000 extra offense, amazing. And then, the thing is, he's assisting all the time. He's that little puppy who just chases everyone, and so, like, Mara goes, and then Palp goes, and then Starkiller goes, and then Palp goes again, and Starkiller goes again, and then Starkiller gets a turn, and he shoots a huge shot with, like he shoots his entire tire, or he does his AoE, which, I mean, if you have this Kron, it is crazy. Dispel all buffs on all enemies. It does a ton of damage based off of how many buffs are dispelled. I mean, he just deletes people, but the higher relics, the better. Also, his ultimate is another thing that his ultimate, you don't want to mod for that specifically. It's based off of his max health, so the more relic levels that you give him, the more damage his ultimate, the Star Destroyer of Healing, can do to people. All right, Boushh wants to be more survivable, and she wants to do more damage. That seems like a great recipe for success for high relics, because that whole Jabba team really wants high relics. Now, I do want to say she also kind of represents Kersantin on this squad. Kersantin also really wants high relics because he is a survivable beast. Oh man, we just went right in the middle of it. Okay, Fennec. She counters Galactic Legends sometimes. Now, there's more and more Lord Vader squads that she is afraid of, and frankly, that might stop being a really viable counter, in which case, maybe she'll be removed from this list. To be honest, she's been here for a while because she's been such a strong off-meta for the meta. I mean, she does just delete a lot of things because of how much damage she does. The combination of her armor shred after she gets gets her contract. She gets her contract, then she does 2 armor shreds, which is going to get 75% of their armor off just with those 2. Then the number of kicks to the nuts that she does when she's with bounty hunters, so they're called. So Bosk is there. He's like, "Hey, Fennec, go kick that guy in the nuts," and she's like, "On it." And then Grief is like, "Hey, Fennec, go kick this other guy in the nuts," and she's like, "Fine, I'll do that. I'll do that too." And then they just die from so many kicks to their private area. So it's wonderful, and she's wonderful for now. But who knows? Eventually, she may not be as useful because she'll be a cleanup character, and then you could just leave her only Relic 7 because that's what she's required for with Jabba. Now, BT1's one of those characters, like, in some ways, this is why you don't want to go for Aphra, and that sounds a little bit counterintuitive and weird, but the reason you don't want BT1 with Aphra is just because, I mean, you do want him with Aphra. It's because when you get Aphra, there's this implied level of, you're like, okay, she needs to survive, because the whole team just disintegrates without her, so she needs, like, Relic 7 or 8, and then you really want to make sure that, I mean, BT1's going to be 5 anyways, but the crazy number of damage, amount of damage that he does, he just deletes people, guys. He is crazy strong. His AoE flamer thing just like kills entire teams on its own. It's not really okay, but we're gonna use him all the same, and he's going to do some tremendously important things, but he does more and more important things at higher relic levels. Not to mention, in Rise of the Empire, he's a relevant character because Aphra has a few nodes, and like he's the guy. He's the engineer of destruction for a lot of those different revive Dathomir nonsense awful squads. Like, he just loops his turn meter because he kills someone with his AoE or his other shot, and then he gets his bonus AoE, and he's a lot of fun, guys, if you have Aphra. Now, if you don't have Aphra, you don't really need him Relic 8, frankly. So, yeah, he is a lot of fun. He really, truly is. Now, Dash is another character that... So, first off, he makes his ship a little faster from 7 to 8, which is great. I feel like my fleet works a lot more cohesively. Profundity, my Profundity fleet works more cohesively because he is so fast. His ship is so fast, so he can... you can hand him the turn, and I need to check the speeds. Maybe I'm just like making it up in my head. I haven't actually checked the numbers on it, guys, but I mean, it works out really nicely to be able to hand him the turn with Profundity, and then he takes 2 turns before Profundity goes again, which can really work nicely, which is, I at least imagined in my head, that's one of the reasons you want him at 8. The other one is, he does a tremendous amount of damage. As you might imagine, he's kind of stat hungry, and he really wants to be able to crit, and so first off, you get a pretty big chunk of crit damage, or crit chance, every time you boost your relic levels, and I mean, that's nice. The damage is nice, obviously. His AoE hits a ton of people, he gets a lot of turn meter, his team works really cohesively and nicely, but that AoE can be so devastating in the right circumstance, guys, and I mean, that combined with his ship, I mean, I feel like he's... To me, a Relic 8 is really nice. It works very, very nicely on him for all the different things. Now, Vander Chewie's one. Man, I almost just recently pulled the trigger on Relic 9 Baze, just for the Leia team for a few other reasons. But the reason I haven't done that yet is because... see, I have all the materials here. I ended up putting Relic 7 on B2, actually, we can talk about that a different time, maybe. But Vander Chewie, guys, I mean, because he's a tank, look at how much of a boost he's going to get. I mean, this is from 8 to 9, obviously, so I guess we don't need to talk about that specifically. But the thing is, he just wants health. He wants a ton of health. All the health he does. He does more damage on a Dash team than almost anyone else because of this. Once he's prepared, he does extra damage, and the damage is based off of his maximum health. Yeah, so the special deal, physical damage based on Chewbacca's max health instead of his attack damage, and so and it hits twice, and it's like sometimes he'll just headshot someone for 200,000. It's just magic, guys. And I mean, the thing is, he has all these things that really boost his stats. So he has less max protection, but he has 80% more max health. So every time you boost his health on his relic levels, I mean, don't even look. I almost covered the screen. I was like, dude, you can't see it, but then you can't see me covering it, so it makes no sense that I was doing that. But he also that 22k health, you get an extra 80% of just from his relic levels if you get him to 8. Not to mention, he's the one thing keeping that entire dash team from certain doom, folks. Not to mention as well that the Wookiee team is a team on the rise, in my opinion. Right now we have a Datacron for them, so they're all, you know, a team of pets is what I call them, and they do a really good job. However, the thing that you need to keep in mind is that Datacron's going to go away, but I think we're probably going to get Gungi at some point, that Ewok Wookiee, and that Ewookiee, Ewok what? Jedi Wookiee. Gosh, did I just say an Ewok Wookiee? I don't even, I mean, it would still be a pet, I suppose, but, yeah, I mean, probably not one you'd want to have a shower scene with, like this guy, but the thing is, you just want a ton of health and armor, and you just don't want him to die. If he dies, then you lose. And not to mention, he also is very strong. Eventually you'll want him at 9, maybe, for Rise of the Empire special missions, because he's required at Relic 9 in some quarters. Now, Ahsoka Tano snips. She's one that I'm always like, man, is this really necessary? And the thing is, every time I boosted her relic levels, she just does, I mean, she's an attacker, so every time she gets a boost, she does more damage, but she's always assisting, guys, just constantly assisting. You guys know how that works. And she does a lot of damage. She isn't just a dispel bot. Her big hit can actually be a legitimately big hit if you give her the right mods, if you give her the right circumstances. And I mean, her ship also hits really hard, and honestly, that's kind of the tipping point. A lot of times, if you get her to Relic 8 in fleets, that's what's going to be able to one-shot some of these really crazy high Relic teams that you're going to be facing. I mean, I have her all modded for health here so that she survives a little longer, so that if people want to use a Jedi Master Luke counter to my Jedi Master Kenobi squad, a lot of times Snips is the reason that people, like, they try to kill her first instead of Cat, because she's easier to kill. But if you can throw them for a loop and give her a ton of health on top of all of that, that's great. But then she also, if you put more relic levels on her, she's going to be doing more damage, even if she's not necessarily modded for extra damage, if that makes sense. So she's a lot of fun. She has she has so many different colors of lightsabers. She's like General Grievous. She just every time you see her, she's like, oh yeah, I've just picked some lightsabers to match my outfit. So yeah, she's a good choice here, guys. I mean, are all of these necessary? Probably not. And maybe she isn't at 8. I've never found reason to regret any relic levels that I've put on her, and she is one of the most versatile characters in the game in terms of how many squads she can be part of, guys. She can be part of a ton of squads, in fact, and be very relevant on them in 5s, in 3s, in all sorts of different, in Conquest, in Rise of the Empire. The list goes on. You're gonna want to keep using her. She's great. Plus, guys, she works well with Night Sisters. So, haha. Okay, Royal Guard. This guy, this is a fallacy that I see a lot in people. They are like, people, I see people say, okay, well, Lord Vader, that's great, but he doesn't really, like, he's strong enough. I don't need Royal Guard at high relics. And so they're like, hey, I'm gonna be a cool guy and just put Relic 5 on Royal Guard. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for doing that. That is actually very, very helpful, because he dies so easily. You need him to stick around, guys, as long as you can. Even just a couple turns more can mean the difference between victory and total collapse and defeat. When you're facing a Lord Vader team, think of how many times you've gotten him into the red and then just died because he was able to just get over that hump, just barely reach that point where he's unkillable. And Royal Guard is the one who buys you that time, not only because he's going to be a unit at Relic 8, he's going to be very, very thick, and his shuttle is actually a pretty relevant and strong ship as well. But the other thing you have to keep in mind, folks, is that he also, at the end of each turn, that's every single character's turn, so good guys, bad guys, neutral guys, etc., every time, if another ally took damage that turn, all Empire allies recover 6% health. At which, I mean, everyone's health based on that team. All their protection goes into health, so it can be 6% is substantial. Royal Guard taunts for a turn, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, he is healing his whole team passively all the time, and it is so obnoxious, and he keeps everyone alive. So higher relics on him, absolutely a must. Relic 9 on him, I wish I could, man. I have a lot of Relic 9s at this point. Well, I think I have like 16 maybe. He'd be on the short list for sure, but I mean, Relic 8, pretty solid in my opinion. Okay, and then Dark Trooper. Man, he just bludgeons people so hard, guys. And the thing I love most about him is you'd never have to worry about him critting ever, because he doesn't need it. He can't crit. I mean, I guess his AoE can crit, but otherwise his basic, it just destroys people. And he's a lot of fun, folks. He is crazy fun. I've never had reason to regret Relic. I mean, I have him on 7 at 7 on one of my smaller accounts, at 8 on this one, and honestly that boost from 7 to 8 though is just so juicy, and he's hitting 4 times every punch, and he's being called to assist a ton because of Piet, and I just Lazy Trooper, he's a lot of fun, and I think in my opinion he is one of the best Relic 8s in the game. I know some people wanted me to put him at Relic 9, and I'm like, you know what? No. How about no? How about no, you crazy person? So, I think that's it. I think that we did 20, and we spent, gosh, 30 minutes talking about it. So, I hope this helps. Let me know what your thoughts are. What's a character that you think should be Relic 8 that is not on this list? What's a non-required, non-Galactic Legend character at Relic 8 that I missed that should be on here? I would love to hear it from you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails.